Hi, welcome back to this series of lab videos based on the on-demand installation and configuration guide. I'd like to go to do lab 5, which is configuring layer 3 VSNs, and the layer 3 VSNs require a VRF, so we're going to create a VRF core which is known as purple. It's VRF number 2. It's going to have an ISID of 30,002, and we're going to associate VLAN 40 with the purple VRF, and we'll be able to see how we segment routing tables, not just the global routing table, but we can create VRFs with their own routing tables, and even include the same IP address hierarchy, because they're separated from each other until we leak routes between VRFs, but that's a different topic. So we'll bring up the console screens again and start with switch A, and scrolling down to section A, where we're going to log in and start looking at the current configuration of ISIS SPBM. So we do show ISIS SPBM, and have a look at what the table is showing us. We've got IP shortcuts enabled, but these only apply in a global routing table, nothing to do with VRFs actually. So what we've already gone into at router ISIS and enabled IP shortcuts, but it says here, in order to configure layer 3 VSNs, IP must be enabled on the ISIS router. So that's what we're checking here, and it was already set as enabled for the IP shortcuts lab in enabling the IP shortcuts in the global routing table. So what we're going to do is go into config mode, and we're going to enable or create a new VRF, IP VRF purple, with a VRF ID of 2, and we're going to create a brand new VLAN 40, VLAN create 40, type port type 0, and we're going to show VLAN members. Nothing's associated with VLAN 40 at the moment, so we're going to do VLAN members, add 40 to 15. Sorry, with the typo there, so correct that. And we're going to create the ISID, VLAN ISID 40 200040. So we're going to assign the VLAN to the VRF, and you do this before you assign an IP address to the VLAN. And this becomes an IP interface in VRF purple. So we go to interface VLAN 40, we specify VRF purple, and now we can do the IP layer 3 configuration, giving the VLAN an IP address 10.1.40.1/24, and exit. Let's go to the next page. So we need to, when creating a layer 3 VSN, we need to go into the VRF purple and enable an IP VPN. So we go router VRF purple and enable IP VPN. Set the ISID to be 30002. Enable the IP VPN, and let's show the IP VPN. And there we are, we've created a VRF called Purple with VRF ID 2. It's enabled for IP version 4, and it's got an ISID of 300002. We're going to enable equal cost multipath on the VRF so that both paths will be used. So we can do that with the IP ECMP command, and then exit from the VRF. Note, redistribution is only activated when the apply command is used, so perform that operation now. So we need to go to ISIS apply redistribute direct, and this time we specify the VRF purple at the end. Now there's an error there because it didn't tell us to create the redistribution statements. Oh, it did actually, sorry, I skipped past that, my apologies. So we need to go back into the VRF purple and do those redistribution statements. And we're redistributing direct. IS redistribute direct with metric 1. IS redistribute direct enable, and exit from the VRF, and then we can do the apply statement. I'll just up arrow, and that succeeds. So we're going to just do save config. Next page, section B, we're going to configure the layer 3 VSN on B. So we'll switch over to B, we'll log in, we'll enable, go to conf T, and we're going to make sure that the IP is enabled. So show ISIS SPVM, IP is enabled. So in order to configure layer 3 VSNs, IP must be enabled on the ISIS router, which it is. Check that now, even though this step was performed in the previous lab. Okay, so it's enabled. So task 3 is to create the VRF. So let's do that with IP VRF purple and use VRF ID 2 again. We'll create our VLAN 40, VLAN create 40 type port MSTP RSTP 0, and we're going to do VLAN members add 40 to 15, and we're going to create an ISID for that VLAN. So that's a layer 2 VSN essentially. Assign the VLAN to the VRF, so we have to go into the VLAN 40 and specify the VRF purple and give the VLAN an IP address of 10.1.40.2/24. Exit, scroll down the document and go into router VRF purple enable IPVPN or configure IPVPN, give it an ISID of 300002, enable the IPVPN. We do ISIS redistribute direct, just up arrow, put a metric of 1, up arrow, backspace, enable, set the equal cost multipath, exit, apply the redistribution outside of the VRF, ISIS apply, redistribute direct, remembering to put VRF purple on the end, and show IPVPN. There's our IPVPN, our layer 3 VSN essentially is established. I'll just save the config, make sure I saved it on A, which I did. FEC has already been configured with the layer 3 VSN, that's true, I did go and do that. So verify the layer 3 VSN. So we're going to do show IP interface VRF purple. So to get a proper perspective, use these commands on all 3 nodes. So we'll start with A, and we'll do show IP interface VRF purple. So even though there are other VLANs on this switch with IP interfaces, they're not shown here because they don't belong to the VRF purple. So we are correctly seeing the IP address of VLAN 40 and nothing else. Show IP route VRF purple, and we should only see the entry for the VLAN, the local entry for the VLAN, and we'll do show IPVPN. There's our VRF purple, and we'll do the show IP ISIS redistribute VRF purple, just to show that we're doing redistribution of directs into the routing table. So before we move on to the next bit, we'll do the same on B. So show IP interface VRF purple. There's our VLAN 40. Show IP route VRF purple. There's our subnet for VLAN 40, and we'll do show IPVPN. There's our purple VRF, and we'll do the last command, show IP ISIS redistribute VRF purple, and then we'll do finally on C the same set of commands, show IP interface VRF purple. On here we've got a different VLAN as per the guide, so that shows up as with a different address. Show IP route VRF purple. Show IPVPN, and show IP ISIS redistribute VRF purple. Okay, so we check the ISIS advertisements using the following command. So let's stay on C and just do show ISIS LSDB TLV 184 detail, and this is showing as part of the link state database the 184 types. So it's showing the IP VPN reachability for ISID 30002, and it shows that IP address 10140 is reachable, which is on a different switch. So we go back to the instructions, ping a VRF interface on the remote switch. Use this command on both A and B. So let me just switch to A and do a ping, and we're pinging a VRF interface, so I'm going to ping 10.1.50.3 in VRF purple with the source of your local VRF IP address, which is 10.1.40.1. Return. Timeout, no answer. So let's go and work this out. I'm just going to pause the video. Okay, I'm back. I've worked out what the problem was. On C, the IP routing was not enabled, so I found that by checking the show ISIS SPBM command. Could see that IP was disabled, which is in the guide. It says it's required for layer 3 VSNs. So I've gone into router ISIS and done the SPBM1 IP enable command, and then I went back onto A and I could see the TLV 184 for the VLAN or the subnet 10.150.0, and then I was able to ping 10.150.3 in the VRF purple with a source IP address of 10.140.1, and it's alive. And if I go over to B, I should be able to do the same one here. So ping 10.1.50.3 in VRF purple. You have to specify the VRF when you do these pings, and you also have to give a source address for VRF pings. So I'm going to put 10.1.40.2, and there we are. I can ping it, and that concludes this lab. Thank you very much.